Hello, everybody. I thought I was going to have a little bit of a countdown, but it looks like it had other plans. All right. How's everyone doing tonight? I am, we don't have any soundproofing in this building just yet, so uh, it might be a little bit echoey. Hopefully, the microphone is um, set at a proper distance and not too loud, and you can hear me. You can actually hear me. Um, the past couple of days have been quite a handful for me, organizing things or not organizing things, but trying to get things organized and figured out and stuff to uh, get done the things that I'd like to get done and get out to the market and all that wonderful stuff. Tonight is going to be a Q&A. I want to talk to you about, last week or the week before last, we talked about a wasteboard. I want to talk a little bit more about that. The wasteboard that I have to make for the 2440, the machine that's behind me here, has currently right now has the Storm black box vacuum connected to it. And so whatever I do, I'm going to be removing this plenum that's currently on here that's connected to the vacuum, and I'm going to be changing it out. And whatever wasteboard that I make has to have vacuum capabilities, right? So I'm going to be looking at the design layout and aspect. We'll look at that in Vectric software, but also it's an open forum Q&A. So if you have any questions, I'll do my best. I'm not the expert on everything, but I can pretty much do my best to answer. And if I don't know the answer, I'll let you know. But hopefully I can point you in the right direction with some of your questions. Now, before we get started and everything, for those of you that are new to CNC machining and woodworking and just whatever, right? So you're just getting started. You're not quite sure what you're doing and all that. The wasteboard tonight, I'm going to talk about the basic wasteboard design. Pretty straightforward to make, but the one that I'm going to be more advanced into is the one that I'm going to be including some vacuum ports and channels and stuff in. So if anything I say or do in tonight's design talk and stuff kind of seems overwhelming, stick with it, stick with me, and we'll get through it. But I do want to give you a quick recommendation. Now, recently, I do have vacuum, but I don't use it all the time. It just depends on the situation, like if, whatever it is I'm doing. But I do methods of, mechanical clamps. I showed at the last class, I have a set of side clamps. They look like this. And these side clamps are from a company, Genmitsu. They make the Sane Smart CNC and everything. Really nice side clamps. They provide, there's a slight bevel here to the clamp. It's hard to see in the lighting. Let's see if I can get some of that high-end glare behind it. But there's a slight bevel to it. And so it creates a little bit of side pressure and down pressure in the very low profile. I really like those and everything. We're going to talk about some additional clamping options that I'm working out that's going to get incorporated into all of my wasteboards and stuff at some point in time. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But something that everybody does, not everybody, but so many people use that I never, I always thought, hey, that's a great method, which is the painter's tape and CA glue. But I always use two-sided tape, like a two-sided carpet tape or a two-sided woodworker's tape and things like that. And nothing wrong with any of those methods and all that stuff. But I thought, you know what? Everybody's kind of talking about it and stuff. And I'm going to give it a go. And I've been using that method now for, a little over a month or so. Love it. Love it to death. Now, just wanted to kind of give you, a little recommendation. I have no affiliation with any of these people whatsoever, but I have been using the green frog tape. I use the 1.88 inch wide green frog tape for the two-sided tape and CA glue method. Wider tape just kind of gives me more coverage area and stuff like that. Now, keep this in mind. Even though it's wider tape, my little bead of glue is just right down the middle, right? So we're not saturating the tape whatsoever with that. Now, when it comes to the glue, I got to give a shout out to Lowe's. I have no affiliation with these people whatsoever, but Lowe's started carrying a brand of CA glue and activator, and it comes in literally, it's Velcroed together. It's right in the glue aisle of the shelves. It's $16 for the set, and the it's Instant Bond. I don't know what the brand is. Let's see here. I guess Instant Bond is the brand. But yeah, I guess Instant Bond is the brand. The phenomenal, right? I'm if I need more, I just run down to Lowe's, right? Like I said, it's about $16 for the set. There's so many. There's P2P. There's this and that. And there's all kinds of places from Rock or whatever. There's all kinds of people that sell CA glue and activator and Type Bond and this and that and all that stuff. And that's all wonderful. But if you ain't got time to order online or, go to the woodworking store or whatever, and there's a Lowe's right down the road, this stuff, I absolutely, it does great. It does wonderful. So just a little bit, again, no affiliation with these companies whatsoever. Just a shout out to anyone getting new and they're looking for kind of alternative ways of holding down their material. It's pretty slick, and it's this piece that's on the table right here is held down with it. And let me see if I can peel it up. I got just one. I literally only have one strip right here because I was doing something temporary here. But the great thing about the cleanup and everything is when you're done, just peel off and there's no glue residue or cleanup. Everything is in between the two pieces of tape. So one piece of tape goes on, like in my case, the Wasteboard. One or two pieces. One, I was only using one because I wasn't carving this. I was just using it to test a new touch block code that we were working on. But a couple strips of tape, and I put the CA glue on the Wasteboard side, and I spray the board with the activator, the tape side with the activator, and then the key thing is lining everything up. So I always run my tape a little long on both ends so I can see where they line up and everything. But yeah, really, really good method. Really good method. It's pretty slick, pretty slick. Okay. Now, other clamping methods and stuff like that I'm looking into are, and this is just, I put together a little assembly. It's not like the full assembly or anything. But where are we at here? A pneumatic clamp system with a little two-way switch on and off. And I also have a mechanical relay. What do you call it here? Yeah. Bear with me a second. Yeah, a relay module that will turn it on and off with my CNC by calling one of the outputs in my post processor and stuff. Ooh, sorry. My microphone got caught. It's a magnet. It got caught on there. So hopefully that y'all could hear me. Fred Glover says we can get that glue at Home Depot here. Okay, cool. So Home Depot carries it as well too. Awesome. So the clamp, let me see here if I can plug the clamp in here. Let me put some. I'll just put 60 pounds of pressure on it for now. Where are we at? The clamp has, just the on off. I love it. And, clamping pressure is based on bore size and the amount of pressure, right? You can increase the bore size to get more clamping pressure, or you can increase the air supply to get more pressure and stuff. The My little regulator is leaking. My thread tape wasn't that good, evidently. In this case, I'm using a 10 millimeter bore and a 100 millimeter stroke. It's about 4 inches. The reason why I went so thin is because it is low profile. So when I'm up against my board and all, I'm sitting below the surface of a 3/4 inch board, right? Pretty slick. A little two-way switch here, just flips back and forth like a game lever. And so I've got a couple of the clamps. So this will go into line with it as well too. I'll have a fence. I'll have basically these stops right here. So let's see here. See if I can get the lighting not to be so bad or so hot. These stops, they go into the T-track and everything, or it'll be up against that, and then the clamps will hold to those and everything. Let me see if I can turn that lighting down just so it's not so. Be careful, I'm tripping all over kinds of wires. Let me see if I can turn this light down just a little bit so it's not so hot. Not hot temperature-wise, but hot bright. Okay, so that's another thing that I'm incorporating in. And now last week we talked about T-tracks, right? When I had some unknowns, if you were with me last week. On the T-track, I got 4 24-inch pieces for my mini carver, which is right here beside me. And then I've got 4 48-inch pieces that's going to be for the this 2440. And then I'll end up getting more probably for my 4x8 and stuff like that. But for right now, just the 2 tables. Now, one of the unknowns that I had was the hole size and the taper and everything, right? What size screw could I get that's going to sit flush, that I can use in my current T-slots, you know, to tie to, and all of that jazz. And the answer was up here. Sorry, hold on. The answer, these little guys right here, and those are M4.7s. Okay. Now I picked up a set of 8 millimeter, 16 millimeter, and 12, or just 8 and 16. 8, roughly about a quarter, you know, a little over a quarter. 0.6 millimeters is a quarter. 6.35 millimeters a quarter, and so those sit just right, and I'll tell you about, hold on a second, it's part 2 on this one. So those sit just right, you know, nice and, let's see if I can, you know, nice and flush in there, perfect size for the head. It's kind of blurry, sorry about that, but that was perfect, right? And then the different lengths just depends on how, you know, deep I'm going to go in my wasteboard and everything. Well, so screw no problem, right? M4.7. Nut. Well, if you remember, I told you I had T-nuts that were M5, right? M5/8s. And let me grab one of those real quick. And while I grab those, let me grab this and this. All right. 2 things. My anxiety. Okay, so 2 things. Number 1, this was my little M5/8 T-nut, right? So that little guy. And it is on its size and everything. It was just the right size that it could go into the T-slot and turn, right? Turn a little bit and it would hold, right? And all that stuff. And I thought, you know what? I could go and order a, try to find some M47 nuts that have the right kind of length that when I turn it in my little T-tracks here and all that jazz, it's all going to work out and fit and all that wonderful stuff. And I had an epiphany. I thought to myself, why don't I just get a piece of bar stock that fits in my T-track that is the same length as my T-tracks, or if they couldn't find the same length, then I could get multiples or whatever. Line them up, make the holes, and tap them with an M4 tap, right? So that way I don't have a bunch of little nuts to deal with. There's how many are in a 24-inch piece? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 6 holes in a 24-inch piece, 12 holes in a 48-inch piece. So thought to myself, man, that's a lot of little nuts. And we talked about it. We joked about it, you know, getting them all straight so they all slide right in there and everything like that. No, I'm just going to get a piece of a bar stock that, and I'm going to drill and tap the holes. And I can thread this right down in there, slide it right in, you know, with my wasteboard. This is going to be embedded in the wasteboard, the MDF. Slide it in. I only have four pieces of bar stock to slide into the T-tracks instead of 12 or instead of 6, you know, times 4. There's 4. So 12 times, 12, 48, what is that? 96. Instead of 96 little screws, I got to make sure that are right as I'm trying to push this in and everything. I only have 4 to deal with. So I'm going to, I've got a little cheap little tap set, and all my taps were like, you know, quarter 20 and all SAE. So I picked up a little metric set, and it's got the M47 tap in there, and that's it. Now that's going to be that. Now, when we were talking about the wasteboard, it was a piece of 3/4 inch material, and I said, you know what, I could. This is 3/8. I could bury this down in 3/16 of an inch deep, and I could surface off a little bit and still have plenty over my T-track, and all would be right with the world and all that wonderful stuff. Well, I've really got to looking at the design, and I want to, for the most part, follow me along with this. I want to stick with just 1 3/4 inch piece to reduce all of my height and everything there. So the 2440 was no problem, because if you were with me in that last class when we talked about the wasteboard, the T-tracks are going to be right over the T-tracks on the table, and they're going to bolt right through there. So there's no pressure on the bottom side of this MDF. No worry about, you know, it pulling, you know, a screw pulling right out or pulling through or any of that stuff, because this thickness of the T-track below that, when the pocket's cut for this to recess in, the pocket's only, the remaining material is only 3/16 plus that, right? So there's only 3/16 of an inch of material but below this. Not good, right? But no problem when my T-tracks are overlaying my other T-tracks. My bolts are going in, the nuts are going into the T-tracks that are embedded in the actual table. And so the pressure is all on those T-tracks, has nothing to do with the material that's under here whatsoever. All good. The problem was with my mini carver. My mini carver only has 3 T-tracks, and I want 4. And the way the T-tracks are spread out, the 3 T-tracks are spread out on the mini carver, the 1824 mini carver, even using 3, I don't want these so far spread out. I want more clamping options and things like that, especially if I set up some kind of air clamp. And by the way, really quickly, they have shorter strokes, and with shorter strokes comes shorter parts. So I don't have to, you know, I mean, literally I could get a piston that has a 2-inch throw that, you know, has just a small body on it, right? So wherever I need room and stuff like that. So these are going to be for my bigger machines because, you know, they take up some room, right? You know, and on a small bed table like the 1824 cutting area that I have, the little mini carver, it might, you know, they might be too. I can't work on bigger pieces because they take up so much room, right? But I can get smaller ones, right? Same thing. So let me really quickly. You guys are having a conversation. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. And if you're asking a question, put a question mark in front of the question so I know you're asking me a question. Let's see. John Thompson says, "Do you have a link for the AIT clamps?" AIT. Is that the Jamitsu? You talking about those little side clamps, little Jamitsu side clamps? I don't have a link, but they're on Amazon. Jinmitsu low profile clamps on Amazon, John. If that's the ones you're talking about. I don't. Let me know if AIT, if that's what you meant. Great to see everyone. Hey, Fred Glover, great to see you too, buddy. Let's see here. And jig cutting fixtures on the machine. Yes, absolutely. Let me see here. Agreed, Brooks Martin. So what Brooks said? Let me see what Brooks said. Got to scroll up. Laney, there you go. All right, let's go back. Hold on, let me go back up, all the way up. Brooke says, Laney, forgotten how to wrap and unwrap a rotary view. Can you talk about that? Yes, I sure can. So while we're talking, I can absolutely do that. And then I will be sure to make sure I come back to talk about those mini carver clamps. Let me share my screen, entire screen, and share. And y'all, let me know, not y'all, you all, everybody, southern side of me, let me know if you can hear me okay and all that wonderful jazz and everything. Let me go down here and open up a second Aspire window. What's love got to do? All right, create a new file. Let's get that on the right screen so y'all can see it. It's no good if I'm just showing you it on my screen. All right, so we'll do a rotary. Let's go, just for right now, we'll go 16 inches and let's go with a diameter of 5 inches. Cylinder axis, and bottom left corner, we wrap around the X. We'll increase that in just a moment and click OK. That'll be our job setup. All right, now let's import. I think I actually have a rotary model on my downloads. Let's see. I wonder what A305 is. Let's see what A305 is. I don't know what it is yet. What is it? Okay, perfect. All right. So let's go into top view. Let's go full 3D model. We want full 3D model. This We are going to size her down to fit in my stock. So let's go on the model diameter. Let's go 4.5. Now let's go 4 3/4. 4 3/4. Wonderful. Let's go. I want to 4.9375. 9375. I want to kind of. I don't need to. I don't need a whole lot of waste. 9375. All right. Click OK. All right, now, Brooks, when it comes to unwrapping the model, right? So let's get it in. Let's get it in the board first. Okay, so here's our model. In version 12, up here at the top, you have an icon that looks like a piece of round stock. This is what you use to wrap and unwrap. She does not look well when she's unwrapped, but a little stretched out there. But to unwrap your stock, your model, and everything, when you wrap it up in version 12, that's going to be that. Now, in any other version, they had in the upper view window, they had a similar kind of icon that in the view bar across the top that was wrap and unwrap model. It was kind of over here to the right at the top. But so as far as unwrapping a model, this will unwrap. And then, of course, you know, the and then you can bring that into full view. All right, so that is how you would unwrap a model. And then, of course, you create your 3D rough and 3D finish. And really, the unwrapping and the wrapping is kind of more so for the just the view. And, you know, in the 2D view, it is unwrapped, you know, when you're drawing in the 2D view and stuff like that. All right, so hopefully that answers the question that on how to unwrap a rotary view. The log up at the top of the screen in the 3D tab, that last icon right there. The version 12, and then in any version before 12, it was in the view bar right across the top here. There's an icon for, I believe it had like two little arrows, a log, like a little round stock with two arrows, and it said wrap or unwrap. Okie dokie, okie dokie. All right. Hopefully that's not trademarked by old Matthew McConaughey. Okay, so probably is. That is how one would wrap or unwrap a 3D view, 3D model, a rotary model. Okay, let's go back over. Let me get back over to here. Let me see here. Are you going to have plans for that for us, Lainey? The spoil board, the vacuum for the 2440? Yes. Fred, I'm not just going to have plans, but I'm going to have plans, but there'll be files and stuff that you can download and everything for 2440 owners and, you know, mini carver owners, 2636 owners, 3648, all that good stuff. Now, our 4848 and our 5100s are 4x4 and our 4x8 machine, and our 5x10 machines already are plumbed for vacuum, right? Kind of built into the machine. So the 2440 is not, the mini carver is not, this and that and all that stuff. So it comes down to having to make a plenum, you know. So yes, that's what I'm working on. That's the goal and all that jazz. Let's go back really quickly to me here just for a minute. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. let me come down and make sure Ontario, Canada. Welcome from Ontario, Canada. Ronnie Probert. How you guys doing, Ronnie? Do you have a link for the AIT clamp? Let me know, John. I haven't gotten down. I haven't scrolled back down yet. John, let me know if I got that right on AIT. Let's see here. The werewolf. Do I work at science? I'm a mad scientist. No, but I don't know if electronics is science, right? So no, I don't do any chemical mixing or anything like that, unless I'm mixing a finish, beeswax, mineral oil kind of thing. But electronics, big time into that's a hobby for me. And R&D. I love R&D, making things that are functional and that work, right? Wait till you guys see the automatic miter saw fence, which goes in my miter station that I'm building. It's going to have a control board, drive system. Yeah, it's going to be nice. All right. Now, so the werewolf, not science, but everything else, if you can say. Those air clamps, thank you. The air clamps, I can put a link together for them for sure. Everything came from Amazon. So what I'll do, John, in the description, I'll put a link. Now, trying not to really put a link for that, John, because I'm actually going to be building these kits where you can buy the clamps, the switches, whether it's a relay switch that connects to your CNC machine, or the two-way switch where you manually turn it off, because this works not only for your CNCs but also for clamping tables and all that stuff, regulators and all that. I'm trying to put together a kit that one could just buy all the parts, right? All my subscribers and stuff and things like that. And so I can put out links and all that stuff, but when the kits come out, if y'all haven't bought yours yet using the links I gave, give it a look, because I got to make a living somehow. Can't give everything away. All right. So, but yes, I will put together some links, John, for that. All right. Let me see here. Let me come back down. Let's see here. Loud and clear. That's good. My microphone is coming in loud and clear. Awesome. Roger says, can you someday do a class on text on text? Yes. Roger, you would ask that question in the Spindle TV exclusive group or the Spindle TV subscribers group and everything. And I answered yes. And I have a file. I did a text on text class. I have on Spindle TV, by the way, Roger, I have 5 videos on text. We just did one literally a couple of weeks ago, but I've got something. Let me check one thing really quickly here. Yeah. All right. Let me throw it up on the screen. Let me share the screen, and I'm going to put this file. Let me throw it up on the other screen. What? Let me get it to load first. Hold Hold on now. Sorry, it just took a minute to open. Let me share my screen again. So Rod, I can show text on text, but also give it just a second. My internet might be slowing us down. Hold on a minute. There we go. I have a PDF document that I'll put a link to a download. That is literally step by step, starting off with creating your layers, creating the design, and then how to separate the design to the different layers. Talks about your V-bit and getting your offset, distance and everything. There's going to be screenshots of the Vectric software and the different layers and creating the offsets. There's going to be screenshots for when you weld. There's going to be screenshots for the tool path. So all the tool paths for the top text, all the tool paths, that's what the top text would look like. All the tool paths for the bottom text, all the screenshots and instructions and everything step by step from start to finish on doing a text on text sign. And so that PDF document, I'll make sure I link that in the description of this video so that you can download it and use it, right? So this is exactly step by step on how I teach my classes, the same method and everything, and we'll make that happen. Okay. All right. So after the class tonight, I'll save it in my drive folder, and I'll create a download link for you, so that you'll have that. All right. And then yes, I can absolutely do another class on text on text. I love text on text. Laney, is there an advantage of V12 over V11 in Aspire app? There are lots of advantages. So if you're ever curious, Kyle over there at Learn Your CNC did a video on what's new in version 12. There's a bunch of people that have. Vectric has done, videos on what's new in version 12. But long story short, in version 12, we have some new tools available to us. Let's share the screen and just show those tools. 100% worth every penny if you have to pay for it. All right, let's go back to the Vectric software. So when it comes to modeling and everything, there is a new tool, create a cross-section vector. So if you have to create a cross-section for a particular project that you're working on, a cross-section is kind of like the profile and everything. You can click where you are starting, you can click where you want, and the ending result is it will create, let me see if I can move that down so you can see it. It'll create a cross section based on, the curves or contours and things. Now, not much of a cross section here going across her neck. It's just kind of a simple slight curve and everything down. In the 2D view, it'd be something a little different if I was running the other way. But so that one tool, that's a new thing. Now, also, what I'm doing right here is new in version 12. I'm actually in the 3D view, and I can see the vectors that I'm working with in the 3D view, not just the 2D view, which the vectors are right here. Not just the 2D view, but I can work in 2D view or 3D view now with version 12. And let me unwrap this. With version 12, I can go in, if I'm working with a component, let me tilt this a little bit to the side. Let me double click on this, and I can work with the model. I can adjust height and everything on the model here. Again, she looks rough when she's unwrapped, but she is beauty's only skin deep. All right, so I can change the base height on the fly here. I can completely control and work with vectors and things like that, all in the 3D view, which we couldn't do before. So that's a new thing. Another new thing in the version 12 software, doesn't matter, VCarve Pro, Desktop, Aspire, is the sketch card, being able to import a photo and create a carving right off that. And also the new VCarve inlay toolpath, not just the standard inlay, but now they have a VCarve inlay that creates your male and female. Now that's just a tip of the iceberg on some of the things and everything, some of the new features and stuff like that with version 12, but that's the long-winded version of saying absolutely there's advantage over version 12 over version 11 for sure. Yes. Yep. 100%. And I don't get paid to say that now. They did a great job with version 12. Lots and lots of new things. All right, let's wrap her back up. Now I changed her height and all that stuff, so she's going to be a little bit thinner now. All that good jazz. All right, so let's close out of that. Not save those changes. And let's, I'll get that link out for you, Brooks, and all that stuff. Not Brooks, Roger. And then we'll absolutely have a video and stuff. Now, want to circle back. I think I got everyone. Let me see here. No, hold on. I got one more. Charlie Hall. Laney, on the 4848, when installing a black box vacuum system, is there a way to set up so you can turn the vacuum on and off with a switch? Yes. So you have relays that you can use, and you have outputs and stuff that you can set up, like a little button or what have you in the software that triggers a relay. And of course, that relay triggers a larger relay, like a 30 amp relay, to turn your vacuum on and off. There is a way to do that. I can't explain it right here, right now and stuff, all the wiring and electronics and stuff, but I can see if I can try to come up with a wiring diagram or something for you. But yes, there absolutely is a way that you can turn on and off your vacuum right through your Planet CNC software. Okay. All right. Sorry. Make sure that I got my door open to the left here, and make sure nobody's coming up sneak attacking on me. All right. So Fred Glover says, Laney, is the sketch photo better? Well, it's not better. It's just easier, right? So sketch photo, now there's a downside and there's a positive side. One, you can import a photo and it creates a toolpath that you can just carve, very easily. But the con to that is it creates a toolpath. It does not create the vectors. You're not tracing the bitmap. You're not, the Vectric software has the trace bitmap tool that traces a bitmap, and then you can do a V-carve and all that stuff and everything. Well, the sketch carve is like a V-carve, but it's literally, you're importing the photo. There's no tracing to it whatsoever. The sketch carve looks at it, and you decide what your line thickness is going to be, and that determines the detail, and it creates a toolpath. When you calculate, it creates a toolpath that you can carve, but there's no vectors that get created that you can edit or alter or change or, remove or this or that. It is what it is. So it's all going to be based on the quality of the photo. The results are going to be based on the quality of the photo. So let me see if I even have in my downloads. I had a... I can't even remember what it's called now. OneDrive, Microsoft OneDrive. Microsoft, it sucks. Anyway, somehow or another, my Microsoft accounts on all of my computers got linked together. I usually do not sync. somehow they got synced. And when I cleaned off one computer because I was moving to another computer, it wiped out my other computers, all the files and stuff. And so there, a lot of my download files are gone. I have no idea where they are, right? OneDrive done took them. But anyhow, let me see if I can find a photo that I can just do a quick sketch carve on. OneDrive. Friggin' OneDrive. All right, let's see here. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to find a. I don't have a lot of photos. I used to have a bunch, but they got wiped out. Okay, let me do .png. We'll search for png. Oh, geez, Lord have mercy. Son of a gun. A beetle landed on my arm, scared the heck out of me, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my God, I thought I was being attacked. All right, let me see what we got here. View. Icons. Screamed like a little girl. Oh my God. Let's see here. All right, I'm gonna have to download. Let me download a picture off the internet. I don't have one. I literally don't. Let me see what I can come up with here. Hold on. Let's see here. Sample photo of man fishing. Okay. Images. Let's find an image with good quality. Is the key. Like resolution and all that stuff. So give me just a second. We'll get past this and back to the 2440 in just 1 second. Let me just find a I'm trying to find one that's kind of like a stock image type thing, so I'm not like using someone's actual photo. Okay, we'll do this. Save image as. Oh, you son of a gun. Okay, save. All right, now let's go back into Vectric. Let me share my screen again. Sorry, that took a little longer than expected. Let's go to screen share. Let's go to entire screen. And then let's create a new window. Oh, man. All right, so let's go create new file. We'll do a regular one-sided job. Okay. So with sketch carve, it's just a matter of import. So import the photo. Of course, it's going to be a little bitty photo. Okay. And then now with sketch carve, if you're not wanting the border and all that stuff, you need to kind of crop the image or remove the background or whatever the case may be and all, because it's gonna like trace just that square, you know, shape and everything. There's no kind of isolation or any of that stuff. But with the sketch carve, we're going to should not need a flat depth on this. I'm going to be using a 22-degree carving liner. That'll be fine. I'm going to do I could do a selected vector or a bitmap boundary. Like if I want to, if I did want to isolate something, I could draw a vector and choose that. So that's good. But I'll just use the bitmap boundary right now. The boundary offset, we'll just say none. Now the line thickness is where it plays a role, right? So the smaller the line thickness, I think it corresponds to the smaller the line thickness, the more detail, the larger the line thickness, the less detail. So by default, I believe it starts off like at 15 or 9 or something and everything. This is set to 8 because it was the last one that I used. But as you increase your line thickness, you'll see it, the detail, it starts to, that green area, right? That's what's going to carve and everything. So we start losing all of that detail. So we want our line thickness to be relatively small, so we get the most detail that we possibly could. When we calculate this toolpath, and it's kind of one of those, it's a numbers game, right? Sliding it back and seeing what looks good and what doesn't. Almost. It's calculating. Out here, I'm waiting to get my internet run out here. That's going to be great for me and all that wonderful stuff. It's 82.6 degrees in here right now. Woo. All right, while that's calculating, let me scroll down and see. I believe that was the last question. So Fred, give it just a second to calculate. It's working on it. Lots of little details in there, all the little details and all the little spots on the back of that fish and everything like that. So we'll let that go through, and we'll show the results. We'll show the results when it processes. Now, really quickly, I want to kind of, while that's processing and stuff, I want to talk about the 2440. And if you remember, before we went off into some of the questions and stuff, we were talking about that on the 1824, the mini carver, it has 3 T-tracks embedded into the table, and I want 4. So lining the T-track over the existing ones, like I'm doing with the 2440, it's not going to work. And with that being the case, when I put these, screws through and everything, there is only 3/16 of an inch of material. Now, if I recess, now I could shallow out the recess and go instead of 3/16, I could go an 1/8 or whatever. But I'm going to be surfacing a good amount of clearance above the T-track after I surface. So I have it set down 3/16 from the top of the MDF to the top of this T-track, right? I have that there. So with this, that only leaves 3/16 underneath. Not a lot of material. Now, if I tried to, let's say I flip the MDF over and I try to pocket out for a little threaded insert, right? Like a little T-nut or something like that and everything. Well, now I only have 3/16 to play with, right? There's not a lot there. So even at that, there's not a lot, any amount of clamping pressure, whatever. I could pop it right out of there and it would just it would suck, right? And all that stuff, because it's a thin amount of material. And, you put enough clamping force on there, it's going to pop right up. Well, I'll be darned. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm sorry, but I had an epiphany when I was at the hardware store picking out the little bolts and the little screws and stuff like that and everything. And I had a little bit of an epiphany. And I came up with a solution that's cheap, inexpensive, and just smart. Okay. Sorry, let me get my microphone. Brooks had mentioned my microphone was too close, so I got it way down here. So hopefully it sounds okay. Anyhow, and thanks for that, Brooks, by the way. So I came up with a genius idea. Now, and I wanted an inexpensive idea that I could utilize and work and all. And that picture's almost finished processing. But I thought, you know what? That little 3/4 inch wide channel, right? That's going to be thin there. But if I had a piece of material on the bottom side that was wider, and I was able to tap, those 4mm holes into it and stuff, and I'm on the back side, I'm taking a 1/16 of an inch of material off the back side that, so this item that can get recessed, but it's going to be wider. So if I went 1 inch, 1 1/4, what have you, then now I have 3/4 of an inch of material, on that wide side that, it can't pull up, like a big old T-nut, if you will. And I'll be darned now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a Simpson tie. Now, the one thing there was a couple of things that needed to happen. One, I needed a piece of metal, inexpensive piece of metal. Now, to get a piece of metal like this, it's not a Simpson tie. It was $12 for a piece of this. Not this, for a piece of metal that was roughly this size on. And this was $1.27. So I was able to get 4 of them, right? So $1.27 a piece. Now it has holes in it, right? Don't worry about them because none of them line up with the holes on the T-track. But when this is centered on there, right? So I'm going to have holes drilled and tapped into the metal. I'm going to have a small pocket on the backside of the MDF that this whole thing sits in, so it's nice and flush on the bottom. And then I'm going to have my 3/4 inch channel from the top side, right? That's only got 3/16. Now it's only got 1/8 of an inch of material on the center part, but the outside edges have that full 3/4 inch. There's full material. It's like a T-nut, right? So it's not going to pull up or anything like that. And it's just the perfect thinness. It drills and taps wonderfully, and it holds its threads when I put the little screws in there. So the screws I'll be using are going to be, I got a big one in there. Hold on a second. Let me take the big one out because that'll confuse somebody. These are the M4.7, but those little screws. So basically, they're going to go in. They're going to go through that material. They'll tap and thread into this and everything, and it'll be all nice and wonderful and all that jazz. And if I'm worried about bottoming it out, like if I like my screw protruding too far, then that 3/16 of an inch that I recessed, I'll just raise it up ever so slightly and everything on there. But I thought, oh God, that's going to be great. It's going to solve my problem and everything. So now what's going to happen is, what that makes me have to do now is I'm going to have to route the channels on the back side of the MDF for this. Okay. And then I'm going to have to make sure that I've got my holes. I'm going to put my 2 pieces together. I'm going to drill and tap, mark everything, blah, 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 blah. And then when I create the channels on the front side, for the T-tracks and stuff, I should be able to lay that T-track in there and just hit my holes with my, my tapped holes if I do everything just right on the layout, right? And that's going to solve my problem for the little table, for the little guy, right? So thinking outside the box, using something for not what it's intended to, but it solves a problem. It gives me Nice piece of steel that that drills and taps, and it's just thick enough that I have a couple of threads because it's an M4 thread, very tight thread. So I got a couple threads in there. Not worried about it pulling or stripping out or anything like that. It's going to be just what I need, and we're going to see how that goes when I put it together, and I'll let you know how that goes. Now, I did come up with an alternative plan to that. But I'm saving that one for I'm actually going to make a Wasteboard kit that I might be able to sell. So I'll keep that one proprietary for right now. We'll share it later down the road. All right, let's go back to our picture here, and it finished processing. So let's preview that visible toolpath. Now, the alternate plan that I said I had, that I just mentioned and everything, that alternate plan, it does include adding a 3/4 inch piece of, a 1/2 inch piece of material. So I am adding an additional 1/2 inch piece of material to that option number 2. It's not, there is a little sacrifice with it, but should be really nice. Okay, when it all comes out. So you can see this image in all the sample carving, right? Just all we did was import it, create the sketch carve toolpath, and you know, that's what we get, right? So we got the carving, this carving of whatever it is, right? And so not the greatest sample photo and all that stuff, but you get the idea, right? So there's not a whole lot of work involved with that. And, you know, so sketch carve, that new addition, just kind of make things easier. So Fred, hopefully that gives you an example, you know, and everything. All right. Let's go back to close this up. All right. So everybody still with me? Anybody still with me? People still with me? Yeah, y'all still with me. I see a couple of you. Now, so this kind of is just a little bit of a heads up. I have not fully tested them yet. Oh, by the way, how many of you ever on TikTok or whatever? I don't have any affiliation with this either, but on the TikTok shop, on the TikTok shop, right? There was this little screw kit, right? This little screw kit, magnetic screw kit, blah, blah, blah. And it's got lights and it screws and everything. Wonderful for electronics and all that stuff. Very cool. And yeah, all that jazz. But wonderful little kit. It's slick as all be it. I forget how much it was. It wasn't very expensive, or I wouldn't have bought it. Testing 1, 2. Yeah, dropped my microphone. But that little screw kit, great for electronics, crappy for everything else. Okay, amazing for little electronics and things like that, but there's absolutely no torque whatsoever in that little battery operated screw gun. What bit did I use, Fred Glover? It was a 60-degree V-bit, 1/4 inch V-bit in that toolpath example, like the white side 1541 60-degree V-bit. No, sorry, that one I calculated with the white side SC50, SC50 22-degree carving liner. 22-degree V-bit. What that does is on those little areas gives me a little bit more depth and definition, all that good stuff. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I haven't fully tested them yet, but by a show of hands, in the what I mean by that is just say yes or no, or I got it or I don't know. Some CNCs have limit switches, some of them don't, right? And so my two smaller units don't have limit switches, but my bigger one does. But it's limit switches that I've installed, right? And I put a video out on how to install limit switches on 2440. Well, I just got a new set of limit switches in that I'm going to be testing. And it's going to be part of a whole kind of kit and all that stuff. But I will keep you guys and girls abreast of these limit switches. So this is a Panasonic. It is the hold on a second. It's an optical sensor, which means something, passes through to sense. And little sucker, little bitty sucker, right? Little light right there. And the little optical sensor. And what that means is when something, let me see if I can turn here. Like that. When something passes into it, that is when I have everything turned on. When it turns on, off, that kind of thing. Like when you're actually, anyway, it's a limit switch, right? Proximity sensor, limit switch, whatever you want to call it. And so just got this, I'm testing it, got it wired to one of my control boards. And if all goes well, I'll let you know about these, put out links and stuff like that for it. And also I'll probably have a kit for the 2440 and the 1824. Right now I'm figuring out the most optimal mounting positions and putting together a little hardware kit, blah, 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 with all the screws and the wiring and all the clips and everything where it's just plug and play, right? So working on all that. Love R&D, right? And like I said, I've got to start making a living. Right now I'm not making anything. And I'm poor. So I got to bring for 2025, I have to bring a product to market or two or three. And it's going to be accessories for CNCs. And it's not just going to be for these two CNCs and everything. I'm trying to put together a universal kit, like clamping kits and things like that for any CNC. And we'll see what happens, right? A little bit of R&D going on right now. And then once I have a really solid, repeatable process and part and reliable and blah, 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 all that stuff, then I'll make it available affordably. All right. Yeah, there you go. So Harvey has open builds is very good controller and all that. The larger machines, all the commercial machines I have, they all have limit switches. My 2440 also has limit switches. Again, I installed those, but these are photoelectric or photo-optic sensors, and they're made by Panasonic, and they are the PM45 models, I believe, but there's quite a few different kind, PM-45, and really nice. I haven't tested them to see, how well they do, but the software, responds very well to it. I'll show you. Let's go here, and let me see if I can put this on the other screen. Share the other screen. All right, so this is the Planet CNC TNG motion controller software. This is what we use with the digital wood carver CNCs. Phenomenal controller, motion controller system and everything. The give me just a second here. Oops. Hold on 1 minute. The over on the left is a little diagnostic layout, and in limit 1, 2, and 3. What you should see on limit 1 is when the limit switch is triggered, 1 lights up, right? So the on off, on off, on off, on off, on off, on off, on off. You know, so I've got it working very well. It responds very quickly, and I don't have all the specs on the spec sheets and all that stuff, but it's a phenomenal little optical sensor and everything. Using that for a couple of things, but limit switches right now is number 1. And so you're going to see some things coming from Build It TV LLC, the company, my company, and not just designs, you know, for sale and stuff like that. You're going to see some kits and all. I already manufacture. Let me see if I can stop sharing for a minute. So I manufacture. This one's dirty. It's dirty, but it's a working part. It comes off my manufacture 4-inch dust brush systems, millimeter spindles, for 30mm diameter spindles, but I'm working on the other sizes and everything. Really nice little 3-inch brush there, 4-inch inlet, that kind of thing. 80mm spindles. These I sell for $95 each plus shipping, so it comes to like $112. And it's fully magnetic. So I have those already that that I manufacture and produce out of the shop and stuff. And so I want other things for the CNCs and stuff. What am I trying to say? Eventually I'll have them available for, you know, different size diameter spindles. Beside like the 100mm spindle, this is an 80mm 2.2 kW water cooled spindles. But eventually I'm trying to get everything laid out and done for the Hitachi Matsubo M12 VC 2.25 horsepower router, the Bosch M6 or 1617 router, those bodies as well. And like I said, 100mm spindle as well. But I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to have like every, you know, size out there and all. I'm just going to have select sizes. And right now I just have the 80mm. But the brushes are really nice. And one of these days they'll take off. You never know, right? They do well. But I want to add more things to my lineup, right? And so clamping systems, pneumatic clamping systems, not just for the CNC, but also for workbenches and things like that too. You'll see that coming. And of course, ladies and gentlemen of the digital wood carver owners, you got some cool things coming out for you too, because of course I work with digital wood carver, right? So a lot of stuff that I work on, you know, is to benefit those users of those machines and stuff. So you're going to see an SATC system setup come out shortly. SATC is semi-automatic tool change. It has all the functions of automatic tool change, but you are the tool rack, right? So, but we'll get that information out a little later. just finished up with all the coding and everything for the movements and stuff, and it's wonderful. So, all right, let's see what we have here. Yeah, Stephen Main uses proximity sensors that detect metal as a limit connected to the Planet CNC controller. There you go. Yeah, absolutely, Stephen. And then Stefan or Stephen? Stefan or Stephen? Let me know. I want to make sure I pronounce your name correctly. Planet CNC controller, love it. I'm not familiar with Meso and definitely not familiar with Mach 3 and all of that stuff, but that stuff I'll have to learn if I'm going to make kits to be able to connect to all these other, controllers and things like that. We'll see. It's all in the works. I'm just a one-man band right now, but hoping that'll change. And the first phase is getting this shop done. And my table saw, my miter saw fence, and all that's going to be automated. If I'm sure many of you have heard of the Tiger Stop fence system. It's an automated fence and everything. They usually retail around, I don't know, $5,000 or $6,000 for. They have them for. They're automated fence systems for shop environments like miter stations and table saws and things like that. And I didn't want to spend $5,000, so I made my own. And it's pretty simple. You just need a controller, motor, your drive system, whether it's ball, screw, belt, whatever the case may be. Tiger Stops use belts. And all that stuff, right? So lots of stuff happening with getting everything ready. I'm going to be working tomorrow to really nail down. I go get the MDF for the wasteboards. I'm actually going to be working those. And speaking of wasteboards, I want to kind of transition to that project I was talking about, the wasteboard project, and just talk really quickly about it before I let y'all go. So hang with me for just a moment, and let's take a look at it. Now, if you remember from last week in SketchUp, I drew out the wasteboard, and I drew out the aluminum T-tracks and everything. Well, those files got imported into Vectric from SketchUp, and I imported them into my plenum project. So this is the plenum that's currently on this table. I showed a little video clip of it without the wasteboard on it, what the plenum looks like and everything. And so basically, this design here is going to be implemented in between the T-tracks, those blue T-tracks, on the new wasteboard, my wasteboard. And so if everything works well and stuff, then I will be able to release those files for anyone else that has a 2440 that's looking for options and all for the storms and things like that. Well, taking this, let me center this. And this is very crude right here, but let me take this and center it. And then let me select this and go to the side. Oh, that side. All right. So I need you to use your mouse. You can't see anything. I got to share my screen. So let me share the screen because that would help, right? So if you recall, let's really quickly, let me hit undo on this. Oh, not undo on that. Give me just a second. Give me just a minute. Let me get back over to Vectric. There we go. All right. Control Z to undo. All right. So once again, like I said, last week I drew out the wasteboard in SketchUp. Those files from SketchUp were imported in, and they were, they're laying here. So these are all the T-tracks and all the parts and everything from that SketchUp design that I had on the screen. Fred, give me a second and I'll answer your question. So this is the Wasteboard with the 4 T-tracks laid out for the 2440. And you got to use your imagination here in a minute, for a moment. But between the T-tracks, there's going to be a wall, right? So there's going to be some space that's not carved. And then there's going to be a pocket with these channels, right? With these, this kind of grid system. This is where the air flows through and everything. Let me run a toolpath preview simulation. Let's turn off all the vectors for a moment. Get back on the screen. There we go. Preview visible toolpath. So there's going to be the main pocket. It cuts out the little grid and everything, all the little squares and all that stuff. So just a, I believe it was a, oh hell, what did I use? A 1/4 inch or an 1/8 inch end mill, one of the two. The upper pockets that you see kind of at the top right there, that's where the main air comes in, and then the air is distributed, the vacuum, not air. The vacuum is distributed through that grid system. I only have two zones, if you will, left and the right side. On this particular project. And then the, but on the new one, I'm going to have, in my 24-inch cutting area, the vacuum's only going to be in the cutting area, just like it is in this plenum. But between those T-tracks are going to be those grids. Now, I had to, while that's kind of simulating out, let me come back here real quick. And let me come up here so you can see me. So on this plenum here, that is this grid that you see kind of working, you know, displaying in the Vectric software and everything, that plenum and all. Once it was cut, I took Mod Podge, right? I had to seal it, right? Ideally, I wanted to make this out of HDPE plastic, but I bought a 3/4 inch sheet of HDPE. The company that sold it to me warped, and there was no flattening out, getting it flat, you know, and I didn't pay too much attention. I was just excited to get it. It cost me $160 for the pre-cut piece and everything. I got it, you know, and I loaded it up and all that stuff. And I didn't really pay attention to the crown and cupping of it until I got it back to the shop. And it was absolutely unusable. It's still sitting right over there on the 4x8 unit. I've tried heating it up. I've left it out in the sun. I've done everything I possibly can. The only thing that I can do out of it is I can cut it down into smaller pieces and use it for smaller accessories, clamping accessories and stuff like that. So that's what's going to happen with it. But anyway, long story short, I didn't get to do it out of HDPE, so I had to do it out of MDF. Thing of it with MDF, it's got to be airtight. And so what I did is I took a bottle of Mod Podge and I poured some Mod Podge in a mason jar and then water. It was about a 80-20 mix, 80% Mod Podge, 20% water. Nice mix. It kind of made it real flowy and liquidy. I used a foam roller, a method of brushes and all kinds of things to get all into those little grooves, in that drawing that you see over on the right and stuff. On the sides, down the sides of the MDF, the whole back side, that smooth back side, 3 coats of this, and, you know, put it on, let it dry, let it soak in, let that Mod Podge glue just soak into that MDF, and then let it dry and let it harden from the inside out. So I did that 3 times in 3 coats and everything, and that thing is airtight. That thing is solid. There's no air leaks on it, knock on wood, or MDF, whatever. But airtight, right? So the new Wasteboard that I'm going to be making with the aluminum T-tracks and everything in it, before the T-tracks get screwed down, the channels are going to be cut. all that stuff and the holes drilled and all that. And then I've got to treat it. I've got to treat it. And I'm going to do the same method because it worked. I mean, I tried, the first go around, I sprayed it with clear, who's the dude that sprays the rubber and makes a boat out of duct tape or whatever, or, you know, puts a hole in a boat, sprays it with this rubber stuff, and it it floats, and you can go fishing in it and whatever. That stuff, that can of expensive crap. That was my first go around. I thought, oh, I'll just rubberize this thing, right? No, don't do that ever, ever, ever. That did not work at all. So I thought, man, what can I do? What can I do? And I tried all kinds of different stuff. Like, you know, the next one was kind of like a bar top resin, right? You know, so too brittle and did not do well at all. And it was just messy and albeit and all that stuff. I said, you know what? I need something that can flow, something that'll cure it. Mod Podge, I work with Mod Podge, straight up Mod Podge when I'm doing my arts and crafts, because I do like arts and crafts too. But I thought, you know what? If I can get this a little bit, wet it down just a little bit so I can get a little bit more flow out of it so I can brush it on real quick. It's big. It's a big area. I set up a little bench outside. And it was a nice clear day and everything. Brushed it on. I had a sprayer, right? I was going to use my sprayer, you know, spray it on, which probably would have worked, but I didn't. I didn't use my sprayer. I just used a combination of brushes and a foam roller and stuff. Top side, bottom side. I mean, I'm working it and everything. I'm on little pyramids, so, you know, and all that stuff. And then I had to make sure everything was sealed, even where the little points of the pyramids were, right? So anyway, I coated it 3 times. Worked like a champ. Gonna do it again. I think that's the best way to do it. If you're going to use MDF, Mod Podge and water, man. 80-20 mix. So the coming back to this screen here, let's go full screen again. So this is the plenum, and so here. Those holes, of course, they get cut out, and there's actual 1.25 inch sink drains in there that go into 1.25 inch, and eventually they go through blasting gates into a 2-inch line right into the black box vacuum and everything. But so on my new one, this area does not need to be as big, and it's not going to open up all the way across like that. There's going to be 2 openings, one that goes between the first T-track over here, another one that goes on the other side of the T-track, same thing over here, another T-track, and all that stuff. So I got to redesign this with this new Wasteboard in mind, right? So basically, you got to kind of imagine it in pink right here. It's in red right there, or pink, but this grid system has to be in between these T-tracks, right? So in here, 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 and here. And of course, it can't go right up to the edge where the T-track pocket is. There's got to be a wall, and it's got to be sealed, right? You know, air can't get out from anywhere, right? And all that wonderful jazz and all that wonderful stuff and all. So my little grid system, there's going to probably be a decent sized wall there, and then the grid's going to be in there. And so essentially, I have to decide for myself. I'm sorry, that's a lie. I don't need to decide for myself. I have to. It's still going to be 2 zones, but there's going to be, you know, these 2 areas are going to be on one zone, and these 2 areas are going to be on another. And that's fine with me. I only have 2 blast gates and stuff. I don't want to put in 4 blast gates. I don't want to have to shut this off or do that. Yeah, Flex Seal, Harry Martius, Harvey. Yes, Flex Seal. Yes. I can't knock Flex Seal. It helped on a roof leak once on my metal roof. But anyway, yes, Flex Seal did not work for this. So my MDF, my table on my 2440 is 48 inches long. So the actual piece is going to be longer, and it's going to be longer, and because this hangs off the back where the plumbing is and stuff. I stand by a second. Hang tight for 1 second. Hang tight for 1 second. No, it wouldn't be there. Where would that be? Hold on. Let's close that. Close that. Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if I can give y'all some visual aids here. Am I in the right spot? Ooh, I shot that down way too far. We need to be in 2024 here. Okay, sorry, I was down in 1993 in my photo gallery. There we go. Learning how to use my computer all over again. Let's scroll up. Okay. I'm gonna download. Gonna download. Oh, just check it. Okay, one. So that's that one. I need to download that one. Download that one. Come here. We'll download that one. And download that one. You'll get the gist of the idea. Okay. Now I got them checked. Let me see how to get them downloaded here. Download. Okay. Give that just a second. And "51 seconds," and then I'll show you what I'm referring to. Let's see. We can close the sample photos of the fish. We can close that and that. So it's almost done, halfway done on the download. I'll be able to open the photos up and you'll be able to see. Let's see here. Laney, which machine is this for on the spoil board? I'd like one like that for the 2440 if possible. And it's the 2440 I'm talking about right now, Fred. So this is the 2440. And it has vacuum clamping. And so basically, let me move this stuff out of the way. Let me move these. Let me move these aluminum tracks. Hold on a minute. All right. Let me go while that photos are downloading. They're almost done. Let me come here. Should be able to see. So there is a wasteboard that is milled on both sides. That's this wasteboard here, so that it's breathable, right? So air can pull through this wasteboard. And then the plenum, I know it's dark. Sorry about that, guys and girls. But the plenum is here. So the wasteboard sits on the plenum. Air flows through there, sucks through the MDF, and it holds really, really well. Now, the wasteboard, I don't know if you can see, but it doesn't, there's 3 inches on each side of my wasteboard because my table, 24 inches is the cutting area, right? So that I made the, I'm so sorry. I made the plenum on the CNC, right? In that back area. So just, this is where you got to think outside the box. Let's go back to the screen share. So the back side, this right here. Now this whole thing is 56 inches long, right? This whole thing, 56 inches long. I only have a 40-inch cutting, right? So this plenum was Give me a second. That plenum, or the board for the plenum, it was slid off the table and zeroed out, and it carved that back half, right? And then slid it the rest of the way, you know, up into its position here, so I could carve the front half, right? So it was almost like tiling, just not, it was kind of tiling in reverse, right? So I kind of went from front to back, or I went back to front instead of front to back. And so I literally, the whole plenum it's tied to the T-tracks, right? So I had it slid out, I had it secured down to all the T-tracks, but only halfway. It was hanging off the table. That back half carved, all those pockets and everything that you see over here on the left, these pockets and stuff, and then you know, and then it was pushed into full position, flush with the front of the table, and then the rest of it was carved, right? So in 2 stages. So that's what I'm gonna have to do with this new one, because again, the new one's got to have that 56 inches. Now those photos are finished, so you can see what I'm talking about when I say hanging off. So let me go into the File Explorer. Downloads, photos, extract all, right click. Yep. All right. So let's click on that and open it up. Let me see what screen it's going to open on. Okay, let's move over here. Again, backside, literally just simple sink drains. Okay, simple sink drains on the backside. Let me go full on screen with that. And so this back half was carved first, and then it was slid down. And so the eventually it, you know, the whole part was carved, right? So when it was all said and done, and you see the darker to the lighter area. Well, the lighter area is dust, but the whole thing is Mod Podged. Under that light area on the left and the right, that's all dust, sawdust. But you can see that Mod Podge kind of in the middle, you know, and all that stuff. But it's literally, it was saturated all the way through this and everything. And so the on the back side, hold on one second. Let me grab one more. Hold on one second. Let me grab one more photo. That, and let that download while I'm showing you the other photos. And so on this back side, there's 2 blast gates. Okay, so those 2 orifices up there, you know, there's 2 blast gates. It comes down to 2 blast gates that I can open and close. And then that basically 90 degrees into the, from those blast gates, it 90 degrees down and into the black box vacuum, right? Or the storm vacuum. So now one more photo. Let me go back here. And let me open this one up. It should pop up in front of that storm one. It did. It went behind it, actually. All right, so you can see this is where my table ends right here, you know, right? So it's hanging over the table, and that's where the plumbing is, you know, for those the vacuums. So it comes down, and then just right under the stand, the unit, the 2440 has a stand. So right at the stand, that's where the 2 blast gates are, and then from there it goes down and into that. So the you know, so there's the blast gates. It's there's a cap right here that I can take off that is, looks like there's glue there, but that's not glued. There's a cap that I can't unscrew if I need to clean something out, like it. Maybe I got some sawdust sucked in there somehow or whatever. But but that's kind of a straight on view. You can see how at 90 degrees and 90s into the storm, and this is where, you know, it's bolted down to the T-track. There's nothing here, and there's nothing on this T-track. It's only the two outside T-tracks it's secured to. Okay, only the two outside T-tracks it's secured to. Everything else is all pocketed out right here for the vacuum and stuff. So there's no holes in here in the middle and everything. And so that's the plenum. And so I need to make that kind of grid system, that same thing, but with the, I'm integrating the T-tracks in there. So, because I don't always want to use the vacuum. I want to, there's times where I want to just clamp something down, you know, and I want to be able to throw a jig on there and use the T-tracks to hold it down and whatever, right? You know, I want to use two-sided tape and CA glue or whatever the case may be. I don't always want to use the vacuum. So this gives me, by putting the T-tracks in and redoing it, gives me a chance to do that. All right. So Fred, let's see here. Laney, when you use the vacuum board and cut all the way through, if it gets damaged, do you just make a new one? No, I don't cut into my wasteboards. So when you cut all the way through, if you zero out on the wasteboard, Fred, let me come back here. Let me stop sharing for a minute. If you, when you're cutting out parts and everything, if you zero out on the wasteboard, and if you're cutting through 3/4 inch material, you know, I use calipers to make sure, you know, my thickness and all that stuff. But by zeroing out on the wasteboard, it guarantees two things for me. One, I always cut through my material. Number two, I don't beat up my wasteboard or spoil my spoil board. So yes, I cut all the way through. No, I don't need to remake the wasteboard over and over again you know, resurface it or any of that stuff. Now, I do have to remake this one again because I got paint on it or some kind. Oh, tar, that Flex Seal stuff, right? So I had a tree branch right above my CNC go through the roof, right? So I put Flex Seal on there. Well, that crap dripped all on my table, the Flex Seal from when I was on the roof. I wasn't paying attention, and so I have this rubber seal. So there's a few little dead spots. Those are actually dead spots. You know, they ain't nothing getting through there. But so I got to make a new one of these. And this is 3/4 inch MDF. It was milled down on both sides. It's about 5/8 inches thick. So it can breathe. The more it can breathe, the more holes you're going to have, right? And one, if you did, Fred, if you did cut into your wasteboard, yes, you could make more, right? You can make another one and all that stuff. But number two, I don't cut into you zero out on your wasteboard. You won't, you know, if you're really worried about cutting through. So here's what you do. All right, take notes. Here we go. Okay, zero is my wasteboard, right? My 3/4. Let's say I have a 3/4 inch board on the table. Okay, I've zeroed out on the wasteboard. Now I'm going to raise my router up to from 0 to z-axis 0.752. When it raises up, now I am 2/1000ths of an inch above my board. 2/1000ths. Now 3/1000ths is a human hair. I'm 2/1000ths above. Now, in my controller software, if we pop up the controller software, let me pop it back up real quick. Am I still sharing the screen? No, I'm not sharing the screen yet. Share. Excuse me. in the, let's close that out, minimize that, pop that up. There we go. All right, in the controller software. So let's pretend that I just raised it up. My router just raised up from 0 and it's at 0.752. Okay. So I just told it to raise up. I used the MDI box down here, said, hey, raise up, from 0 to 0.752. Now, in here, I'm 2,000ths of an inch above my material, but I'm going to come in here and I'm going to tell the machine that I'm at 0.75. So when it cuts through my material, it's going to be 2,000ths of an inch above my wasteboard. If I'm really, that's going to be a very, 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 very minute onion skin, and in most cases, it just flakes right off. You don't even have to do anything. And so the when I lock that in, now even though my machine is sitting at 0.752, I tell it that it's sitting at 7.75, and so now when it cuts down from 0.75 to 0, I'm still 2,000ths, 0.002 above the material. And again, 0.003 is a human hair, 0.003 and some change. So I'm 2/3 of a human hair above the material wasteboard. If I'm worried about cutting into my wasteboard and all that, then that little trick right there will keep you cut all the way through your material, but keep your wasteboard pristine and not beat it up. All right. And so Funaway asked, how can you show how to zero out on the wasteboard in Vectric? So yeah, it's called the machine bed. So when we are here in the job setup, when you're in your job setup, over here on the left, you can choose to zero out on the material board or the machine bed. In this case, that's the top of the wasteboard, right? The machine bed is it's the bottom of your project board that you're cutting, and whatever that project board is clamped to, that is the machine bed. So in my case, if I'm clamped to my wasteboard, then the wasteboard surface is the machine bed. So you just set it up for machine bed, and you calculate your tool pass off of machine bed. And then on your machine, you move over to the center, to the corner of your project, whatever, you zero out your X and Y, lock in that position, and then you move over to your wasteboard and you come down to your touch plate or touch puck or whatever you have for your machine. You zero out so that the wasteboard is 0. And then as soon as you zero out and you put your touch plate away and all that stuff, then we have an MDI box, right? So let's pretend that I'm zeroed out on my wasteboard right now, right? So I come down here. MDI box stands for manual data input. Let me move my picture in picture. Let me see if I can drag this up. I can't. Oh, whoa, hold on a minute. Oh, hold on. Somehow or another, I switched screens. Give me just a second. What I'm trying to do is just move me up a little bit. Oh, come on now. Hold on a second. Stop. Let's see. Drag to move. Move. You son of a gun. Okay, no more. That's going to give people dizzy. All right, let's go back to, let's go out of picture for a minute. There we go. You see this on the bottom right? MDI. That stands for manual data input. So that means I can type in commands. I can type in G code and stuff. So here I'm going to type in, I'm sitting on my wasteboard right now. I've just zeroed out, right? So, and I'm probably not at 0, 0 on the X and Y because I'm not on the corner or the center of my board, right? I'm on my wasteboard somewhere, so ignore that. But here I'm going to type in Z 0.752, and I'm going to hit enter, and the Z-axis is going to raise up to 0.752. Then I'm going to come over here and double click, and I'm going to tell the machine, not moving the machine, but I'm going to tell the machine that I'm actually sitting at 0.75. Now, I'm still at 0.752, but the machine thinks I'm at 0.75. So when I cut through the material and I cut down my 3/4, it's going to, I'll technically be 2/1000ths of an inch above my wasteboard. Okay. Now, here's the thing. The, oh, it was a good thing. Hold on a second. Oh, here's the thing. I see a lot of people too many times, and I want to put myself up on the screen because I need you to see my face when I say this. I see a lot of people too many times. They're really not paying attention to how thick their material is, right? You know, they're putting in what they assume it is. They're not using calipers and all. You should get a set of calipers if you don't have any, but they're to make sure they cut through their material. They're putting 0.752, 0.756, 0.8, 0.85, whatever. You know, oh, I'm just cutting into my wasteboard and all that. Well, you're not just cutting into your wasteboard. You're not cutting down and just cutting into your wasteboard and all. You're dulling the tip of your bit over time. You're causing unnecessary stress and heat build up on the tip of the router bit, and you're dulling that bit. So then over time, that bit no longer plunges properly. You know, it starts tearing through the material instead of shearing through, you know, and everything, because you've dulled the bit, because you've been shoving the bit down into the wasteboard, right? You know, so you're not just cutting, you know, you're not just, you know, oh, I'm just going to go 0.752 or 753 or 0.77 or 0.78, you know, just to make sure I cut all the way through. I'm sorry, don't hate me, but that's lazy and it's improper machining. If you have a 3/4 inch piece of material, then your cut depth is 0.75. If you have a piece of 23/32 on the material, your cut depth is 0.71875. You know what I mean? You know, if you got a 7/16 inch piece of material on there, your cut depth is 0.4375, right? You don't add extra numbers on there just to make sure you cut through. What you do is you zero out on the machine bed instead of the material surface, because zeroing out on the machine bed will guarantee that you will always cut through your material, number one, regardless of if your material is a little thicker or a little thinner, and it won't beat up your wasteboard. It cuts down to 0, but not below 0, so it's not going to beat up your wasteboard. And if you're really unsure, that you're worried about that even doing that, you're going to cut into your wasteboard, you can do that little trick that I just said, where you zero out on the wasteboard, raise it up above your material, your Z, raise it up above your material by a few thousandths of an inch, tell it that it's the exact thickness of your material, and now the machine will cut down and still be that few thousandths of an inch above your material, right? That's how you end up with a wasteboard that gets used and parts cut out and everything and all, and it's pristine. Now, if you look very closely, get my head out of the way. If you look very closely, you might see tool mark shadows and everything. They're not there, but you know, where the bit is just kissing that surface and everything, right? Where that bit is just kissing that surface, but it's not cutting into it. Not cutting into it. Pro tip. Well, semi-pro, or just a tip from Laney, right? You know. All right, let's see here. What do we have here? Funweo, am I pronouncing your name right? I hope I am, Funweo. That's how you zero out in Vectric. It's the machine bed. When you're doing your job setup, you set it up for the machine bed. And then when you're at your actual machine, if let's say you're starting in the center of your job, get your bit over the center, zero out X and Y, and then move over to your wasteboard. Make sure you don't hit your machine limits, because it's the material, it's the machine bed, right? Anywhere on the left side or the right side of the board, the front, the back, anywhere on that wasteboard, you know, you can touch off 0. Your wasteboard should be flat, right? So you come over and you zero out on the wasteboard. Now the machine and the Vectric software knows how thick your material is, so it'll always raise up. It'll never collide into the material and all that stuff. You know, it adds it to it. So if we were to look at the Vectric software, and this job right here is set up to, this is my wasteboard, or my plenum. Give me a second. Let me get out of here. Let me maximize the screen real quick so you can see it. Over on the top right, you see this little diagram up here, right? So it knows that my material is 3/4 of an inch, and it knows in the job setup, the material setup, it knows that I'm touching off on the material surface, right? Well, my Z gap above material is a 1/2 inch. That means when I hit start or stop at the end of the job, at the beginning of the job, it's going to go to a 1/2 inch above the material before the router turns on and when the router turns off, right? Well, if I set this job up to be on the machine bed, then what the software does is it takes the thickness of my material and adds that 0.5, because this is Z gap above material, not Z gap above 0. It's Z gap above material. So when I click OK here, you're going to see that I am at, you're going to see that my Z height now is 1.25, right? So when I hit start, it's going to raise up to 1.25, which is a 1/2 inch above 3/4 above my board, right? So it knows to clear that board and all. It's never going to collide with it and stuff. It knows to raise up to that proper height above material. It knows that 0 is down on the wasteboard, so it has to raise up not only the 3/4, but it has to raise up that 0.5 above 3/4, which is 1.25 inches. And if I go back, so you can really see that if I set it back up to the material surface and I hit OK, you'll notice in the material setup that my Z is 0.5, right? Because I'm already touching off on the top, so it knows to raise up a 1/2 inch above that, for the safe height, right? So it knows when I'm working on the machine bed. It knows when I'm working on the top of the material, and it adds that additional height. So the if you're cutting through your material, or not just cutting out, even if you're doing like a 3D model where the whole surface is getting milled away your material, 0 out on the machine bed, right? If you're cutting out parts and you want to guarantee that you always cut through your parts and you don't beat up your wasteboard, 0 out on the machine bed. And on your cut depth, put the actual thickness of your material. Don't add anything to it. Don't do that. That's a no-no. Everybody does, but don't. Trying to give you some friendly tips there. Okay, let's see what we got here. Fred says, Laney, I'm just making sure I'm correct. You have the vacuum board and then a spoil board on top of that, then the material board. Yes, yeah. So let me go back to here. So, okay, the plenum is not the wasteboard, right? This is the vacuum plenum. So this is let's call it a jig, right? This is what the vacuum gets sucked through. It comes through those pipes and the vacuum is sucking, the air is sucking in this orifice, right? But now if it's not covered, then air is just escaping. There's no vacuum, there's no hole, there's no nothing. So we have to put a wasteboard on top of it, and the wasteboard has to be breathable, meaning I can suck air through MDF as long as I mill off the top surface and the bottom surface, that little shiny surface on both sides. If I mill it off, and depending on how much I mill off, depends on how breathable it is. So I'm sucking vacuum through here. So this is sitting here. Now, I'm going to turn on the vacuum and I'm going to mute the microphone. First of all, I'm gonna on the screen, I'm gonna mute the microphone and I'm gonna talk, and I'm gonna hold up 1, 2, 3, and I want to let me know if you can actually hear me, right? Because I don't want to blow your ears out with the vacuum, right? So here we go. I'm gonna mute the mic. For that 1, 2, 3. I'll wait for a yes or no on that, and before I do anything further. There's a little delay between when I did that and what you guys respond to. And what I'll do is I'll turn on the vacuum and I'll clamp down a part to it. I clamp down a part on it. All right. And then while I'm doing that, let me answer Charlie's question. Laney, when you zero out on the machine bed using the gauge, the little filler gauge, you still type in the 10,000ths of an inch. Yes, because your wasteboard or the top of your project board is 0. When you're on your little touch plate, which ours is a little filler gauge, that's 10,000ths of an inch, 0.01. So the bit is technically 0.01 above 0. So when you do come down to that little touch plate, you type in 0.01. If I came down, oh, hold on. If I came down to my quickset block, which is a 1/2 inch thick, if I come down to my quickset block, then I would type in 0.5, right? Because I'm technically a 1/2 inch. My bit is technically a 1/2 inch above 0. 0 is my wasteboard, right? My wasteboard or the project board and all that stuff. All right, so could not hear you. Wonderful, Fred Grover. Wonderful. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to turn off the mic. I'm going to turn the vacuum. I'm going to show you kind of the hold and all that. And it's really, it's a shame I can't, that I can't talk over. It's loud. It's so, all right. All right. We'll use this piece as an example, and give me just a second. This is a grip mat. I'm going to throw this over the back part of my wasteboard to kind of really channel the vacuum to the front here. And I'm going to slide my my machines on. Hold on a minute. All right, I'm going to see if I can zoom in on this real quick. Let me set the camera. Give me a moment. Okay. And give me just a second. Give me just a moment. A moment. I want to try to have something that has a little bit of a bow. Okay. Okay, we can see that. All right, wonderful. Okie dokie. Now this mat, I'm just covering some of the vacuum loss up and everything like that. I actually have a board that does that for me. But let's see. So let me get that camera really positioned. Okay. All right, here we go. I'm going to turn on the vacuum. moving it on and off wasn't actually centered on my plenum area. I was like, where am I losing vacuum? Give me just a second to get re-centered. Where's my pencil mark? There it is. I was like, why am I losing vacuum? Okay, one more time. Lord, it be. On and everything. You should have saw, hopefully the camera picked up that when the vacuum came on, it sucked this part down. And I was losing a little bit of vacuum. I have some through holes I have some through holes in this board, and so I was losing a little bit of vacuum through there, but not much. So let me fix the camera. See where I'm at here. So you should have seen, hopefully the microphone is on. Yeah. You should have seen that corner come down and everything. The Fred, regardless of if a board, you should always surface your board, right? So Fred's question was, Laney, with a bowed board, does that mean you don't have to surface it down before carving? If your board is, bowed, warped, twisted, and all that, depending on, the material in your vacuum, I mean, if it's bowed really bad, the vacuum's not going to pull it flat, and everything. Number one, try not to use bowed material, but if you had no choice, you still want to surface, because when the vacuum releases, it's just going to pop right back to where it was, right? But you could still, if it does pull it flat, I mean, you could carve on it. It's going to be bowed when it releases and all that stuff. All right, so Laney, with all the material, so what you understand what's going on here, the vacuum mat and everything, there's a big open space back there of air that, vacuum is pulling right through this wasteboard, right? So that's all air loss. So the grip lock mat, I just use that because it's all I had right in front of me. I actually have where I don't know where it is right now in this new shop, but I actually have a piece of PVC board that sits across the back of my table where I'm not using it, and so I'm not losing any vacuum and everything over there and stuff. But I have all this front area to zero out on. I have the side area to zero it out on. I can zero out right next to the board right here. I could zero out back here. This grip mat doesn't have to be there. I can move that out of the way. You still have plenty of room to zero out. You have a whole table to zero out, because your table should be flat. If your table's not flat, something's wrong, Fred. So you got your whole table to surface zeroed on, you know. So find a spot, zero out your Z on the wasteboard, right? So, and I have plenty of room right here. There's about 2 inches right here, the whole front of this, about 2 inches that I could move the router to zero out and all that stuff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are 2 hours and 11 minutes into it. It's 9:40. We're going to wrap this up here in just a little bit and everything, because old boy here hasn't eaten dinner, and you can tell that I like my dinner, right? I'm getting a little fat and around the waist and all. I haven't been to the gym in a while. So at some point in time, we'll go chow down. Got, I don't know what I got ready for me and all that stuff, but I got food coming somewhere. All right. Okay. Getting fat and losing my hair. No, just kidding. I don't know what that is over there. I think my hair just, I think it's got a hat head. Anyhow, so long story short, I got some things to do tonight and tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm gonna go pick up my MDF that I'm gonna be able to cut down for the mini carver and the 2440. And then I'm going to start trying to put all this stuff together, right? You know, to see what works, what doesn't work, and everything. I'm super excited about drilling and tapping these for the small board to see how well that works. And if it works, I'm a freaking genius. Because I'm like, man, what can I do? What situation can I do where I'm not on that 3/16? I got some of a bite, you know, and a wider piece of material, but it was like $12 for a wider piece of material. I thought, no, there's got to be another alternative. And then I came across those $1.27 ties, and I thought, that'll work. So we'll see if it how well it works. It's R&D, right? We'll see how it goes. But all right, any last minute questions or anything? Charlie, I think I answered your question. On your touch plate, you do type in your 0.01 before raising to 0.752. Yes. Let's see here. Laney, what is the cost of the Storm machine? I believe it's black box vac.com. And Storm buy now. Let's see here. Let's go with so it starts at $1,695 US. I don't have an inline filtration system on mine, but I do have the grip block mat. So with the grip block mat, total price, $1,864.95 US. Blackboxvac.com. Yeah, Fred, I just saw the question, so that's what I just answered. And all that. Let's see here. All right. So yeah, so one thing I'm really excited about, once again, I'm super excited. Gotta play with this. I'm really looking forward to these clamps, right? So I'm super looking forward to getting those down on the table and, throwing some clamps on it. But right now, I'm going to figure out a way to measure the clamping pressure. And now, even though it has a 4-inch stroke, right? Like if my board is here, right? Let me see here. Like the clamping, I have this up at 60 pounds, right? So I can still push, right? So that's a lot of clamping force right there. I'm like literally like pushing that down. So that's only at 60 PSI. No, I'm sorry, that's it. 43 psi, right? And so I can go up to 90 and go up to 100 and 145 psi or something like that. So, I mean, that's a lot of clamping force just on that little bit right there, just that 45 psi. So it's going to be slick. I'm looking forward to that. And so, simple setup regulator that comes from your air hose, right? Regulator valve, your little relay switch. Now, this is a manual switch, great for clamping tables and stuff like that. And then the clamps. Now, who was it? I don't know who I was having a talk with. Was it our class last week? I think our class last week we were talking about Rockler has a kit, a clamping kit for $90. It comes with a valve, a clamp, regulator, $90. My competition. Right. All right. So, but it only comes with one clamp. I'm gonna try to give you two. All right, everybody. Well, listen. Y'all have a wonderful night. We're going to call it an evening here. I don't see any other questions popping up at this time, and appreciate it. Hopefully the questions that did get asked all got answered, and then hopefully we've got some interesting stuff coming out of the shop. Oh, wait. Hold on a second. There was a question that I passed right by. Give me a sec. Stay with me. Stay with me 1 minute. This question. Hold on. Laney, what size is your shop? It's not heated yet. I just literally moved into it. It's still a steel building. There's no walls on it yet, right? I mean, there's exterior walls, but there's no interior walls, no insulation, no nothing. I mean, it is sitting. I'm in Florida. So it's 82 degrees right now in here. There's no air conditioner. I got a fan by the door. No heat yet, but there's going to be a mini split put in. But I got to get the insulation and stuff in first. Now, give me just a second here. Give me just a second. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Stand by, ladies and gentlemen. Great to see. Okay, that was all right. Oh man, I went too far. Hold on, I got to come back down. That helped. Everybody was answering about limit switches. We're talking about the vacuum. Make sure I understand you correctly. Board. I could have swore there was a question. Did somebody ask a question about a dust brush and it didn't get answered? If you're still watching. I could have swore I saw the word brush. Okay, I don't see it. Anyhow, I believe I answered everybody's question, but if you did ask a question about a dust brush, then I apologize. I can't find it now. So, all right, let's see what we have here. Every Saturday for live streams. Now, some people like to go out on Saturdays and stuff like that, so that's why it's usually not a good day to have that's usually not a good day. I don't go out. I don't have a life. My life is in this shop. But the shop is 18 foot by 25 foot. So let's see here. I can do this. So over to the right, it's a little down. That's the door, right? And so you see all the stuff sitting on top of the saw. Look at all that stuff, right? That's all got to go into drawers tonight. I do have some drawers, but not all of them. Sweet tea, good stuff. In a mason jar. But anyway, that's a mess. So that's the front door. Now, as you come around, there's a 1824 sitting on the table right in front of me here, but that's not its permanent place. I'm just working on some of the electronics and stuff. But there's a 4x4 over there, and then in the far back corner, which you can't see, it's behind the TV back there. There's a 4x8, and then come around the corner, there's a dust collection, a bandsaw, and then the table where the mini carver usually sits. And then there's other stuff behind me, blah, blah, blah. But it's 18. It's a mess, guys. It's really a disaster. Let me see here. My video's all crooked now. It's really it's a war zone. It's an absolute war zone right now. I'm getting ready to build. So some of the builds that you're going to be seeing coming out of the video out of here, there's no way around it, guys and girls. You're going to see videos on cabinet builds, right? Miter saw station builds and a working table. I'm going to build a 3 machine table that wrote, you know how you have, like, you ever seen those little flip tables where you might like have a drill press and a let's say a planer, you know, you flip it over, right? This one's going to have 3. So I'm going to have a random orbit sander, not a random orbit sander, what's it called? Oscillating spindle sander, planer, benchtop type planer. That's tool 1 and 2. And tool 3 is not going to be my miter saw because that's going to be on its own station. But what the heck was the third one? Hold on, there's a third one. What? Oh, my drill press. Benchtop drill press, little small benchtop drill press. So gonna have that. Got to build that. All the cabinets and drawers. Clamping system. So a wall clamping system that when it's packed away, it's against the wall, but it can lean out. So I can panel clamps, right? So panel clamping system. I need it to be compact. I need it to be out of the way because I can't use any benchtop space for clamping. I mean, little stuff, yeah, but I don't want to tie up all my tables and all that stuff for clamping and all. So that's going to get built. I have a really awesome idea so I have a big old panel saw, right? Panel saw. Slide in a piece of plywood, shoot, panel saw, right? Well, a panel saw the saw can be turned 90 degrees or forward, right? 90 degrees or forward, and then you would, on the standard panel saw, you push the board through if you're kind of doing like a rip cut, or you're just bringing the saw up and down if you're kind of doing a cross cut, right? Well, I don't have a lot of room to be taking a board out to 8 foot. Panel saw turn 90 degrees, and then slide the board through the panel saw, another 8 foot on the other side. Don't have that kind of room. So my panel saw is going to have a gantry that moves back and forth. So the board's just going to go on there, and then the saw will rotate 90 degrees or 45, depending on what I want. And it's going to be CNC. So it's going to cut up against the wall. So it's going to, the saw moves, not the panel, right? So that's one of my big builds. It's going to be fun. Not a big build. It's not hard at all to do. Yeah. So I'm going to have a CNC panel saw. DIY. So it's going to be fun. And it only makes 2 cuts. It doesn't have to be precise and all. So now, if I change the regular skill saw, it's going to be just a regular skill saw mounted to it. But if I change the skill saw to an actual saw head that I can pivot and all that stuff, then I'll have a CNC panel saw that can cut any angles. It'll just rotate. Yep, that kind of thing. Anyway, we'll figure it out. But the shop is going to be automated. I need as many robots working as possibly. I'm only one guy, so I need all the help I can get, right? All right, everybody. Well, hopefully you will see all that stuff coming here in the very near future. These builds, right? If you're interested in that, we'll show them. We'll show the builds. We'll build them on camera and all that good stuff. And until then, let's see here. Hold on. We had somebody pop up. Laney, sweet. I asked the question about the dust brush for the 2440 with the brushes. The Fred Grover. Right now, the dust brush, like a 2.2 kW water cooled spindle with an 80 millimeter body. The brush, fits on that. Yeah. So just an 80 millimeter body. So that right now the Hitachi routers and the Bosch and all that stuff I don't have yet. And I believe the 1.5 kW water cooled spindle has a different size barrel body. So right now it's just the 2.2. All right, everybody. I'm going to go chow down. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Enjoy your Sunday. Have a blessed day tomorrow. And we will catch you on the flip side. I hope you found some of this interesting. I know it's a mess, but wait till you see it when it's organized. All right, everybody. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Thanks now.